bring the men's volleyball team in the studio with us. But before we get to that, we got a few announcements. So,
starting good dental habits when kids are very young is the key to protecting their teeth for life. It is essential to brush your child's teeth regularly and visit the dentist as soon as their first tooth comes in, but no later than their first birthday. For more information on keeping a healthy dental routine, contact First 5 Santa Cruz County at 465-2217 or visit first5california.org. Information on keeping a healthy dental.
KZSC thanks the Catalyst for their support of community radio and live music in downtown Santa Cruz. The Catalyst has two stages, the main stage and the atrium. For those of you who are hip-hop fans, come out this Sunday, April 19th, to see Tech 9 perform.
all right, one final announcement. This just in from Outdoors, KZSC's weekly environmental news report airs every Friday at 7 p.m., covering the news, issues, and history of the land, air, and seas of the Monterey Bay area. Tune in for your local environmental updates on This Just In From Outdoors every Friday at 7 p.m. on KZSC Santa Cruz 88.1. All right, like I said, we're here, Slug Talk. We got the men's volleyball team in with us. Thank you for joining us, Brandon, Jake, and Jake. It's been a pretty good season from what I understand. We've been following you guys, and you guys are playoff bound. You're leaving You're leaving this coming week, next week, for it. You guys just want to introduce yourselves and maybe your positions, fun facts, however you want to do it.
Sure. Jacob Landell here, outside hitter, senior captain.
Jake Hurwitz, I'm a senior captain as well, and I play libero, so defense and passing is my job pretty much.
Brandon Tirado, senior captain as well, middle blocker.
Cool. Yeah, thanks again for joining. I'm no volleyball expert. I'm just curious, like the extent of my volleyball knowledge is like kind of gym class and that kind of thing. And I remember we kind of rotate every point. Like, is that something that happens in college volleyball as well? Do you guys or do you have set positions and, like you mentioned, libero and outside hitter, that kind of thing? Like, are you same place on the court the whole time, or how does that work?
So we rotate, yeah. I mean, volleyball, that's how it works. Everyone rotates. Each player has a position that they are specialized in. These guys are hitters. Me being a libero, I'm the guy who wears a different color jersey, so I stay in the back row, kind of maintain our passing line, and really kind of take charge on defense and keeping us organized in that regard on the court. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how it's organized. Everyone's always rotating. These guys are always moving around the court. I'm always staying in the back row. Yeah. Essentially, that's it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you pick a position? Like, is it kind of something like you're playing the same thing you played in high school, or like what? How does that process work with volleyball?
It's kind of based on your body type, I guess. If you're taller,
okay,
you're gonna be a hitter. If you're shorter, you're gonna be a defensive player. But I mean, it's mostly the coach's preference.
Yeah. Is the libero the one that has like the one jersey that doesn't match everyone else's? Yeah. Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly.
So what does that mean, I guess?
Honestly, I don't know why they have a different colored jersey.
Do you get to pick, or is it something like...
No,
so you don't count as subs.
You always just have the opposite colored jersey as the rest of your team. But essentially, the position is just concerned with defense, and for us, the biggest thing is keeping our offense in system.
Okay.
So maintaining good communication with my passers, like that's pretty big for us this year, and that's brought us a lot of success. So as a libero, you see a lot of liberos directing guys around because they also have a really good view of what's going on because they're not in the front row, they're watching everything, and they're kind of responding to what's happening. So that's kind of my job on the court, is just watching everything, giving people feedback.
Yeah. Hopefully
they give me feedback too, and that's how it works.
Cool. And I'm just kind of curious. So you guys are kind of towards the end of the season, and hopefully you have a good run through the tournament. When did your season start? Maybe kind of want to walk through some of the highlights of this kind of past season going into the playoffs. I mean, Brandon, for example, like what's been your kind of your highlight of the season?
Well, it's a very long season. We start preseason around November. We get a couple of games In the home court in the Slug Dome over at the West Field House early in January, February. But the highlights always have to be the traveling days. When we get to travel as a squad, really work on that connection, that bond, maintain that communication, as Jake says, in different ways. Volleyball is a very team-heavy sport.
Yeah.
So being able to have that connection with your teammates is very important. Translates well on the court and off the court.
Yeah. Jake?
Well, one highlight for sure is that we beat the #1 team in the nation this past February, December, January. That's a pretty big highlight. I mean, we took them handily. There's only one slip up. They took a game off us, but that's it.
Cool. So I'm curious. So, you know, there are tons of sports, and you probably play others. What was your entry into volleyball? How did you decide that, like, this is going to be the sport, you know, you guys kind of choose and train for, and, you know, you're here, you know, you're playing college ball. Like, what was that process like? Was it something you were turned on to kind of early on, or, you know, maybe kind of came into it some other way?
It's kind of something that I just grew up around. My parents, you know, I lived on the beach my whole life, and it's something that I've just been around my entire life. So, I mean, I used to play more sports as a younger kid, and then I got more specialized into volleyball as I got older. But the way I got into it was just playing with my dad and playing with his friends, and, you know, you just keep, as you get older, you get more advanced, and you play in high school and you play club, and then if you're lucky, you make it on a college team, and here we are.
I was just bad at basketball. But still pretty tall, pretty athletic, so I picked up that sport.
Yeah.
I'm in the same situation as Jake. My whole family plays volleyball. Yeah. Ever since I can remember, I've played volleyball.
Yeah. So how readily does beach volleyball translate to court? Is it court volleyball, like indoor volleyball? Like, obviously, like, you know, your footwork is probably different. But do you find that, you know, with the wind and some of the other environmental factors, like, is that, you know, is the kind of mentality for training, is that completely different, or like how does that work?
I mean, it's a completely different environment. I would say beach ball helps a lot with, like, individual skill, because usually you're playing 2-on-2 on the beach, so there's a lot more, at least from my standpoint as a defender, there's a lot more reading going on, and what that means is reading an opposing hitter, opposing server, whatever, because there's less people on your side, so it's more about you, you know, whereas six man on a court, you know, there's so many other people doing their job. Sometimes you won't even touch the ball and you'll score a point, you know, whereas on the beach you're touching it every single time. And then, you know, the other stuff, you know, the wind and all that, that's completely different from indoor. But I would say footwork is pretty big and on the beach, and so that definitely translates to indoor. Or you could speak more about that.
Yeah, I guess just footwork.
Yeah, big.
And it's a really good question. A lot of people like to debate whether beach will help you or not, but it definitely helps on the athletic side of it. It's harder to jump on the beach. It's harder to move around. So when you get to indoors, you jump higher, you move faster.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously with the playoffs coming, we were talking a little bit early before the show. You guys are leaving Wednesday. You know, unfortunately, you're gonna miss some school, but for a just cause, representing the Slugs on the East Coast. What what are you guys doing to prepare? I know you're playing in New Jersey, so that's, you know, you have a 3-hour time difference. It sounds like you guys have a day off. You travel Wednesday, day off Thursday, though you're probably practicing, I would imagine, maybe. So what are you doing, you know, in the coming days to prepare? Are you, like, at the point where you're, like, physically, like, you guys are kind of where you need to be, and that the important thing is to just kind of relax and get your mind off it? Or what do you guys, I know you guys are leaving for practice here shortly, so yeah, what are you kind of doing in preparation for the tournament next week?
Taking care of our bodies
Yeah.
is priority number one. Making sure that we're hydrated, making sure that we have the appropriate amount of rest, making sure that we're putting in the right food into our bodies. And then I think another important element is visualization.
Yeah.
We have to be at a peak mentally. There's no chances for slip-ups mentally, so every day we try and take 5 to 10 minutes to just visualize what it's going to be like playing in a hostile environment and what we are going to do to respond to that adversity. So creating these buffers for these situations, if something gets thrown at us when we're out there, it's like we've already practiced how we're going to respond to these situations.
So with sports like football and other more rehearsed sports, you're able to kind of scout your opponent, and recognize tendencies and then kind of tailor your game plan to that opponent. Volleyball, and this is just, this is the ignorant outsider, it seems like it's a little bit more improvised in that, I don't know, I mean, it seems like there are plays, but, what are some of the things you do? My understanding, coach is, telling us that you guys are playing your rivals, and it's your first game, correct? So you kind of have a sense of, maybe what to expect or their tendencies, but with some of these teams you haven't seen before, this D3 volleyball being predominantly an East Coast sport, like is there a different style of play? Like, is there like an East Coast brand of volleyball as opposed to some of the schools you're used to playing out here? Or like what are you guys doing as far as like strategy? How does that work?
Essentially, at this level, at this point in this season, I would say the teams that we're going to be competing against in New Jersey are all running a pretty high-level technical system similar to our own. During the season, we will play teams that are running super funky stuff that we haven't really seen before. But yeah, all these teams that we're playing in New Jersey are going to be running fast systems, stuff that we're used to seeing. We've seen tape of most of these teams. We've played against most of them. So I would say in practice, the big thing for us, Brando mentioned just visualization. That's been big for us. But I think in practice, competing a lot has been good. Just put us in that mind frame of just competition, aggressive competition. Just get us in that mode of play. Because when you get to the tournament, every team there is just playing super aggressive. Yeah. So I think that'll be good for us.
So, with the tournaments, you guys are familiar with tournaments. I'm just kind of curious, like, obviously the goal is to win the thing. And so you kind of, maybe this isn't the case, but, maybe it helps to kind of have, that kind of thinking about the next step. Do you find that, with a tournament of this size, do you approach this tournament like you do some of the other kind of weekend tournaments? Or are you just kind of focused like one game at a time? What is that? What's that? How's that work?
Definitely one game at a time.
Yeah.
A lot of people come up and ask me, you think you're going to win it all? And it's like, first we got to play NAS, and then we'll take it from there. So we're just going to take it one day at a time. But the past terms we play 4 games in 3 days or 5 games in 3 days. So that's 2 games in one day, 2 games one day, and then 1 game the last day. So the mentality we took it into every single tournament this year has been, we cannot lose a game. When we lose a game, we're not going to national tournament.
Yeah.
So, we keep that mentality from then on.
Cool. What, just to kind of switch it up a little bit, do you guys have any, like, embarrassing stories from volleyball? Like, if you kind of think as far back as you're playing, what are some of the kind of, like, funnier moments? I don't know, just kind of in your time playing.
There was one time we were playing Stanford 2 years ago, and Hurwitz passes this ball, and I think that our setter is going to set the ball to me, but it's going on the other side of the net, and then I'm still going up for an attack, exposing myself vulnerably, and their 6'10" middle blocker hits it. I'm thinking I'm going to hit it. He ends up hitting me right in the stomach, and I'm just on the ground for like 30 seconds after that. It's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
I can't really think of something like super specific right on the spot. I don't know. You could probably think of something embarrassing that happened to me. I don't know. Do you have anything?
Not really, no.
Yeah, fair enough.
One time I went up to hit it, and I missed it completely.
Injuries? Is that, Jake, I noticed your hands are kind of taped up. What are some of the kind of more routine injuries that volleyball players deal with, and then like some of kind of the more gruesome things? I know that sprained ankles are common in basketball, with a bunch of other plays around, but it kind of seems like volleyball, you kind of have your own little zone. But again, I don't know too much. Like, what are some of the physical things you guys deal with over the course of, it seems like a pretty long season? Like, you're going on 5 months of season, not including the training and all of that.
Well, right meow, we have one of our players that has a concussion.
Wow.
And I feel like for our team, that has to be one of the most common injuries. I think we've gone through about 5 or 6 concussions this season.
Like a ball to the face?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, wow. They come in that fast?
Ricochets all the way up to the roof and comes back down.
Point blank hits. Happens.
Especially with like 6'5", 6'6", powerful guys hitting that ball right at your face.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I gotta say, this is probably the least injuries we've had ever. Like,
right. Yeah, a lot of that goes to one of our alumni, Austin Einhorn, who's been working with us a great deal on improving our mechanics and just our movement patterns overall, because volleyball is completely non-contact, so it's like there really shouldn't be that many injuries unless you're landing on someone, which sometimes does happen with people blocking. But our injuries have decreased dramatically just because, and I believe that, our mechanics are improved. I think the way we've approached working out has changed over this season, and that's attributed to Austin's work with us. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Cool.
So kudos to him.
Shout out Austin.
So I, understand the team is probably listening, maybe getting hyped in the locker room right now. Do you have any a message for Coach or the boys in the locker room who you're gonna join pretty shortly here before we call it an interview?
When the fire starts to burn.
Starts to spread.
Cool. Well, I, appreciate you guys coming in and taking time out. We certainly wish you the best of luck here. Do you guys have fans that are going to travel, like maybe friends, family, they're going to kind of go join you on the East Coast? I know that's seems like a pretty unfair disadvantage traveling so far away, is not having that support.
I have some buddies flying out, some old teammates of mine that are making the trip. I have a buddy that goes to school in Boston. He's taking a train down to check us out. It's going to be big for us because these arenas are just full of just hecklers.
Yeah.
Heckling the West Coast boys, and it's going to be tough without some of our own firepower there.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice to have some.
In the worst case, you could probably just rent people on Craigslist or something.
Yeah.
Like paint a banana slug on their face and
hire them.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining. I don't want to keep you guys from practice. I know we had about 20 minutes, but if there's you guys have anything else, Brandon, what do you got?
Last thing, we are at a school that does not really prioritize athletics. A lot of people don't even understand that there are athletic teams out there. So on our end as a team, we do have to do a lot of fundraising in order to reach our goals, in order to play at this next level. So we're asking if anybody's listening out here right now supporting UC Santa Cruz athletics, in particular UCSC men's volleyball.
If anyone listening wants to do that, let's say in the coming days, there are expenses that come with travels. Like how can interested people do that? Like do you have like an email address or a number or a point of contact, or just like drop off a bag full of money at the Westfield House?
Bring all of your money to the Westfield House.
rob a bank.
Emailing our coach would probably be the best bet at that. His email is THOLLENB@ucsc.edu.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you bring that point up. I mean, we're at a school that definitely doesn't prioritize athletics, and maybe that's because of the school's history or some other kinds of reasons. But in general, what are some things that like just showing up at the games? Like, do you guys charge admission for tickets? Like, what's a good way students up here can kind of help, short of just kind of like a cash donation, like buying tickets to the games, or what can we do?
We get pretty solid support at matches. I mean, we fill the gym every time.
Cool.
With great support from the students. I think, to be honest, our fundraising is done by us. Each year we fund ourselves. We've had some like donut sales and stuff like that to raise money.
Car
but anything helps really. So that shout out is big for us.
We start our annual pledge drive on Monday here. So we have an entire week. If you've ever listened to radio, non-commercial radio, you've probably heard, or like any public television, you've kind of heard those. It's a really cool kind of thing when your listener is supported. It makes things stressful at times, but also like you know that your audience has your back, you know. And it's really, for us, it's really cool because we can't be on the air if it's not for people who listen to Slug Talk and everything else.
I think another important part of that would have to be just spreading awareness.
Yeah.
If you guys ever see anybody wearing a UCSC men's volleyball shirt around campus, just say hi to us.
Give you $20 and
yeah, give us all of your money and then no, but
yeah,
I mean if you just get to know us, we're very approachable people. I think in the past people at high schools have had issues with bullies coming from athletics programs, but that's not the case with our athletics programs here. So just the fact if people do start to care about a cause, then
absolutely
just throughout the campus it spreads.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, you guys are certainly the opposites of bullies, and I appreciate that. Some of you are pretty tall, so it's nice to not have to worry about that. But yeah, in all seriousness, that's absolutely, support local athletics, support the men's volleyball team as they head into the playoffs. You guys leave Wednesday, right? You flying out of San Jose or
San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Cool, that'll be fun. I hope for some, you guys, I hope fires burn. Is that the name of the song?
When the fire starts to burn.
Yeah.
It'll be burning.
Yeah.
She'll spread on you.
Cool, yeah, like I said, I don't want to keep you guys too late. You've got playoffs to prepare for, so thank you so much for coming on. And, if you guys want to come back, when the tournament's over and hang out, or any time in the future, doors are open.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. So here's your phone back. I'm just gonna play some music. We're gonna take a quick song break and come back with some FIFA, some World Soccer updates. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you, Jake, and Brandon, men's volleyball here at UCSC, for joining. Best of luck in your tournament, and we'll see you guys soon.